Oh, hey guys, loaded up pretty quick today. Welcome to the stream, welcome to the chat, welcome to another video and another day. Welcome. Well, what are we doing? We are still continuing our build on the F-15C Eagle 1/32nd scale by Tamiya. I think this is part 4 now, if I'm counting correctly. And so what did we do? We got our main fuselage put together yesterday. That's all glued and together. I've just put a couple of little foam pieces on there so when it's sitting on its side, it's not going to bust off the little tiny pins that are sticking out on each side. And I put a foam piece on top to protect my photo etched little HUD that sticks up there so that it doesn't get bent again. The wheel is on, it spins fine, perfectly, very nice. Then, just before finishing last time, we did the air intakes. So these guys are on now and they move down just like they're supposed to. I did actually wind up removing them and I spray painted the light ghost gray on the inside of them just in preparation so that when this thing's all together I don't have to worry about getting in the little cracks and crevices that are in there later on. So those are done. So what's next? We've got this together, we got this done, that page is finished. Earlier today I started working on the engines because those are next. Okay, so we have our 2 engines all prepared, painted. We've got the 2 halves painted a little bit of the little dirtiness on the inside there. You can see that. Yeah, you can see that. Where looking at some reference photos, you can see there's a little bit of I don't know if the camera really picks it up or not. So what I did, you can tell on some photos this thing just looks like it's black and covered in soot or ash or whatever it might be. You know, the blackness that gets sprayed from it is burning fire, right? So this metal I've seen in a couple of 1 or 2 photos, you can see it's kind of got that bluish tint of burnt metal, you know. So I decided to go with that. I have a little tube here from AK Interactive's True Metal series. This is a wax paint, and this is metallic blue, and so just a little bit brushed on, and if a little tiny drop goes a long way, just adding that little bit of a metallic-y bluish tint, and it really works out good. I don't know, I'll try and get the camera to show you. You see here if it'll work. Let's see if you will focus. There you go. See the little bit of a blue tint on there, right? So yeah, so did that, and so I think we're ready for assembly of these. I did a little bit of a test fit, so these 2 just go together like this, and then these go in the ends. And my test fitting, it doesn't really want to go in and just slide in nice, so I'm going to wind up doing this and glue them on, and then put the other half in. So I'm going to do that, and that's how I'm going to do these. Okay, so if I'm going to do that, let's do that. As my Airwolf theme plays in the background. These do go only one way. They've got little notches, a wide notch on one and a narrow notch on the other. So they only go in one direction. So there's one. Now you could actually put glue on the little ring that this is, because it goes in there and it's pretty tight. You could have the ring glued to it too if you wanted. I don't think it makes much difference if you're going to have the ring glued in there too or not. The main thing is that it's glued here. That is the main thing. You've got to make the main thing the main thing. There we go. So they are glued in there. And that's going to be pretty close to the last time you're ever going to see them. Because that's just the nature of the beast, right? It's, you do all this detail on the inside and then you never see it again. And it's just kind of the way it is, right? And once again, we've got guide pins to go over these holes. Not that we really need them. There we go. Everything all glued together and snugged up, hopefully. I don't think I got any glue on there, so I'm going to get my thin and I'm going to get use of some capillary action in there and get some glue on there. I'll do the same for you, just in case. I don't know if I got any in there or not, so I do want to make sure it's all glued together nice and tight and level. And there we go. There's our engines. One thing I do find funny about it, even on this scale model, you go through the trouble of doing the air intake runners the full length, right up to the point where the fan is, where the engine starts, and you can never see all the way down in there. Once it's all together and it's super dark in there, you never see it. And then you do the engine at the back, and you always have this gap, right? They always sit like this, right? Why don't they actually mold the entire engine and have it as its own piece, so you get to actually build the engine, even though you're never going to see it. You're never going to see these. You're never going to see it. There's so many details that you never really see once it's together. So why not? You know, why not? I don't know. I don't know. I'm asking myself the question. I don't know. Okay, so these are together. These are together. And now Tamiya wants me to put them in the lower half of the fuselage. So, I have my lower half of the fuselage right here. But I had it masked off because I wanted to lay a coat of primer down on here. So I masked off my little landing gear bays. So I masked them off so that I wouldn't get primer in there. That one came off, okay. There we go, okay. Yeah, because I'd already painted these white, and so I didn't want to get primer in there. The primer I used is just Mr. Surfacer 1500 gray. Now, you've watched my videos, you know I don't normally use primer. I don't bother. It's the Tamiya paints, they lay down good enough for my purposes, and I don't really need to do much with them. So I don't bother usually with primer. This plane, on the other hand, is an exception to that rule, because I want to do all the things right with this one. Not only is this my favorite plane, this is also one of my most expensive kits, because I've added things like the resin cockpit, and then the decal sheet things, whatever the heck you call them, for the cockpit. Do I have that the right way around? Does it matter which way around it is? Okay, so they want it so that these pins are facing up, so it goes like that. Just like that. It's amazing how much Tamiya wants me to screw parts together. Like I said in my last video, I got lots of screwing to do. So, I want 2x6 mil. Now what's funny, they want me to remove, pull this out, they want me to remove this nub. I guess just noticing it sitting here, it is kind of threatening to interfere right there. So I'll get my knife. Actually, I'll snip it off. Done. Of course, now that's all. I gotta put some glue in there. Fortunately, this is interior stuff, so I'm never gonna see it. So I can be as sloppy as I want. There we go. Good enough. Smear that on there good. Okay. So, screw time. I need two 2x6s. I think 2x6 is the common one that we've got lots of in here. Let's see. That's a 2x6. Are you a 2x6? You look a little longer. Yeah, you're too long. That was probably a 2x8. 2x6. There we go. All right. So now that I just glued this, I'm just going to do that one last. Let's move these off of the instructions. So, screwdriver. Now, I still want to glue it down. Even though it's going to be screwed there, I still want to put some glue here. You know what I mean? Because you shouldn't just rely on the screws alone. Something about it just doesn't seem right. So, let's do that. And that. And I'll even put a little bit here. There. Okay. Feels pretty snug like that. And yeah, I'm just gonna, what am I gonna do? I want to keep that like that. I'm not gonna use my big clamp. I'm just gonna use a piece of tape, I think. Here we go. There we go. So we'll let that sit. Now it's a little more solid again. So this piece, I don't think I'm going to use any glue. I think I'm just going to screw it down because it doesn't seem to be any significant spots that it's really going to require any glue. I suppose I could try and put some glue in the side there. For the landing gear base, I don't think I need to worry about any kind of glue situation there, because the screw goes right there, and that's pretty much that's right over top. That's in line with the bay doors, right? So the only issue would be the front, but it feels pretty solid as far as movement or anything. I'm not feeling a big, strong urge to glue it. Maybe a dab to where this is going to connect on the inside here. See that lip? These two little lips, that just lines up in there. So maybe right there. Because it lines up inside there. Although it feels like there's a little bit of a gap. So maybe gluing it wouldn't even do anything. And it's not touching on these sides, so gluing on this side, on the inside, wouldn't have any purpose at all. And of course, if I did glue it, I wouldn't be able to do that. So much for that idea. Yeah, I think I'm just going to screw it down and call it a day. There we go. So that's it. So it doesn't really feel really floppy. I suppose, like I could put in a piece of styrene in there, and then to fill that gap, see that little gap? Yes, you can see that gap right in here, right? I could put a piece of styrene in there or something like that, and then, glue it so that that doesn't have that flex, right? But, at the same time, it's like maybe I need that bit of flex there for assembly. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, yeah. So I don't want to really load a bunch of glue on there and then try. Now I could maybe put a piece of sprue and glue it here in this little channel along here. I believe I have the upper part of the fuselage here. How does this go? I think this is actually going to go like here. Or maybe it goes back here. I'm not sure exactly how this fits. Let me grab the other half of the fuselage. This is going to sit this. Oh wow. I have a feeling I have to do this. I haven't test fit this yet, so this is all new stuff. That lines up like that, and these go like that. Wow. You go over the top. I never would have known that. So then this is going to sit like that. You can sure tell the difference between the primered and non-primered piece. So with that being like that, this won't interfere with anything. And then this, let's do this. This doesn't go deep enough, so I'm going to use, let's grab a piece of sprue here out of my garbage. So I could just take this, and I can literally just put that down in there, and I could glue that there, and glue it so that it's touching both pieces, and now I've got something actually holding this at the front. So I'm going to do that. Of course, remember the last time I made something up like this? That was with the F-22 build, and I wound up completely undoing that whole process. It was a complete and utter waste of time. Literally just slathering the glue on. Where did I throw my tweezers? Just like that. More glue because I feel like it. Okay, before I lose that, let's do the same on this side. Alright, there we go. So now I feel a little bit better that I've actually got something actually holding these two front things, even if it is just those two pieces of sprue holding that. They're not pressing against anything, they're going to allow it to just sit there and not move. And I'm okay with that. I'm good with that. So, as you can see, where they wanted me to cut that little knob off, it's right there. I probably would have been okay with it, but I guess because it's like it would have been sticking out and it would have interfered with any kind of movement required for lining up the top and the bottom. Maybe that's why they wanted that taken off of there. I'm not 100% sure. So, with that done, let's make sure everything's done on this page before we go over. That's done. The engine assemblies together. We've put those two in. We've removed that. This is the lower fuselage. We've got our two screws. That's the air duct. We already know that. That's it. Next page. Next page, we are working on the upper fuselage, so we can put this aside. And we want the upper fuselage. And it looks like we are about to assemble the machine gun. The M61A1 is what they call it. M61A1 Vulcan, 20mm Vulcan cannon. You got a Vulcan cannon, man. Yeah. Okay. I was under the impression that we didn't encounter the Vulcans until like the 24th century. Star Trek reference, by the way. Yeah, I'm a nerd. Whatever. First thing we need to do is put in our front and back walls. I haven't yet decided whether I'm going to have this thing displayed with this door open or not. I haven't decided yet. This is kind of envisioning my display, how it's going to be sitting. You know, I've got an F-15 that I've built, and I've got the I have the air brake displayed open. I have another F-15 where I've got the air brake down and it's closed. I actually have two of them with the air brake. I had to look just to make sure. Two of them with the air brake closed. So I'm also thinking, okay, when these things are sitting and they're parked and they're doing maintenance on them, do they have the air brake open or closed? Probably closed. I don't have it sitting in the hangar with the air brake open, right? Am I right? Am I wrong? I don't know. Let me know. If you're an F-15 expert and you know, then by all means, please. Okay, so this is the front one, and that's going to go where are you going? I don't know how this is supposed to go. Goes like that. Okay. Goes in there like this. Falls through there just like that. Just trying to determine whether it sits flush or if it sticks out like that. You see that little lip? I don't know if it's supposed to go flush in there or not. I think it's supposed to be flush, but I can't say for sure. It actually looks like it's not at all. It's a little difficult to say. It might go in behind like that, and then go in. It's still flush. I think it's supposed to go like that. And leave that lip. I think that's the way it's supposed to go. Let's put some glue on there. Okay. This is where we can put locks on. Make sure that is going to be a permanent part of the plane. That's the 3 P's. Permanent part of the plane. Okay. Then we have this one. This has a little notch there. I don't know if that's significant at all. It's got a notch at the bottom. I have not done any. I want to put some paneling on that before I put it in. I want to put it on before I put it in. That's a good practice. did only paint this thing with a single coat, so it's not that great, but it's good enough for a piece that's going to be mostly obscured. I think that's good enough. Okay. And he goes down as the back wall. Looks like I'm going to have to convince him to get in there. Unless I have this backwards. I'm trying to put it in the wrong way. Alright, so he just sits in there like that. Okay, so with that, we get him out of there. So we can put a little glue on the back wall there to help him stay where he belongs. And then with him held there, I'll use this one. Make sure he's a permanent part of the plane. Okay, so with our front and rear walls installed, we can put in some insulation and some vapor barrier. Oh wait, wrong type of wall. Okay, so we need to assemble and paint the gun. The gun is just simply going to be gunmetal color. That's not a big issue at all. But it's made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces. Alright, you gotta find the D. Where's my D? There it is. There's my D. Found my D. I need 11, 31, 26, 27, and 50. There's 11. $31 and $30. And what else do we need? 26, 27, and 50. There's 50. There's 50. 26 and 27 right here. All right, so let's make sure my little nub marks are clean. That one. Watching some videos on DCS, that Digital Combat Simulator. in particular this guy named Growling Sidewinder. This is his YouTube channel, and I don't know if the guy is actually like a former pilot or not, but he sure sounds like it, and he knows his stuff when it comes to aerial combat. And it's pretty impressive to watch the different aircraft and how their strategies are different depending on what their kind of aircraft their enemy's flying, and what certain planes are really fantastic at doing but really terrible at other things, and all that kind of stuff. I find it entertaining a little bit to watch these guys doing the simulated. It's I don't know, it's kind of simulated, but it's like a video game, but it's super crazy realistic, and it's impressive. Okay, so our 3 barrel assemblies need to go together, and they all just kind of go together. How do they go together? They go together by going together. Really? That's very informative there, Duplicitous. Well, I'm glad that you're informed. Shut up. Okay. Trifecta of barrels is what I'm going to call these. Guess this is the main one that they'll go to. Putting the glue on it sure helps to line them up, because they stay put for you. There we go. There's 2 together. Now the third one should just kind of drop into place here. Which it did. It's very nice and friendly. Alright, so our barrels are together. Okay. Yes, a like would be appreciated. And subscribe. You guys probably can't even hear my background music. They're actually saying that in the background. A like would be appreciated, and subscribe. I don't know. I got this music just off of YouTube and their free music section. Alright, so I've got my barrels done. Just let that sit and cure for a minute, or roll away on me. I'll put it down there. Okay, so we've got these parts. These parts go together. Should be pretty straightforward. Yep, yep. This, see, if I have this sitting like that, this is going to sit. And how are we doing? We're going to go like this. Okay. fine little intricate little piece of work there, which makes me want to paint this first before I assemble this, because once I got this on top of there, it's going to be really hard to get paint underneath of it. I don't have an airbrush, although that might be coming soon. I'm really strongly considering getting an airbrush set up. If you guys have been watching me for a while, you know I only have rattle can paints, and so I don't use an airbrush. I have never used one in my life, okay? Although I've always thought it would be cool if I had one. I just, for whatever reason, I just never got into it. And I always talked myself out of it, thinking there's more to prep, there's lots, then you have to clean it up every time. You want to change your color, you've got to clean it out and make sure it's clean, and then put your color in, and all these different things. Plus, complicating it in my mind with how much to thin the paint, and how much air pressure to use, and all these things, right? How close do you go? How far away do you go? Overcomplicating it in my mind. Talked myself out of buying an airbrush for years. And so I've always just gone with rattle cans. I think I'm finally at the point where it's time to get an airbrush and save myself a lot of money on spray cans. Because, yeah, it will. Yes, an airbrush is going to be an initial cost and cost me money that way. But I think, you know, comparing the price of one of these compared to one of these is a huge difference. And they probably will go about the same distance as far as paint goes, because you take this, use a little bit with some thinner, and there you go. Whereas with this, there's no thinning, you just use it straight out of the can. But yeah, of course, having never used an airbrush, it's going to take some practice, some getting used to. I'm sure the technique is similar, but of course you have the whole dual action thing on the little trigger at the top there, which is a lot different than just going right? The way I see guys painting online, they're not doing the typical like what I just did to paint this. I went spray back and forth like this to get coverage. What I see with an airbrush, you don't have to do that back and forth motion, because you're controlling at start with the air, and then you slowly start to allow more and more paint out as you pull the trigger back. And of course you don't do that with a can, right? A bit of finesse, I guess, lack of a better term, is what's going to be needed. Lots of practice, I guess, before I'm actually ready to paint a model entirely with an airbrush. So yeah, that's the thing that's kind of going through my mind. I want to go to the airbrush route. I think that is the way to go. So yeah, I see on Amazon they have a nice little kit that's fairly cheap. Comes with like the compressor with the tank and the hoses and some fittings and filter and cleaning tools and all this, and a couple of what I've read really junk airbrushes. But it comes with a kit and just like all you need. And then all I got to do when I get good enough, invest in a higher quality actual airbrush, better than the one that comes in that kit. So yeah, I'm leaning towards it. So I predict in the not too distant future I will be painting these with an airbrush and not my spray cans. And of course, when it comes to models like the F-15, where nobody makes a color that is specific to this plane, and like all the kits, all the brands are saying mix this color with this color and this color and this color. Well, I'll actually be able to do that. And yeah. Alright, so we got our piece on there now. Now, we're actually putting these, we're not putting this in together like this, as cool as that is. We're not putting, these actually go in the plane separate times. Whoa! Where did you go? Oh, you're right there. Okay, so I do have to paint this guy. He needs to be painted before he goes in. Otherwise, he'll never get the color, the coverage that he deserves. He deserves good coverage. So this is another advantage. The fact that I can just grab the can, paint this, put it down, move on to something else, go, oh, this is the same color, grab the can, paint it, done. Airbrush, I'm not really going to be able to do that because I can't just put it down for 5 minutes because the paint inside of it will dry, and you have to clean it every time. So that's the hesitation with me as to why. Yes, there is an added thing to it in that it's going to be better quality painting, more control over the paint. Like with an airbrush, I can have the spray come out of it narrow enough that I could have gone and sprayed underneath there and underneath this without putting a ton of paint down. With the can, I'd have to get close, and by getting close, I'm going to be dumping a bunch of paint in there, right? And because I don't have control over how much paint that comes out of there. But if you try to do that with a can, you try to do that with this by not pressing as hard, the paint just comes up, it just comes up blotchy and just does a terrible job. With with a can, you always want to have high pressure coming out of there. You lower that pressure down and you're just asking for a really crappy paint job. So yeah, so once we have our gun put in here, then they want us to put the two halves together. So it's interesting, can I put the gun in after the halves are together, or do I have to assemble it beforehand? That's an interesting little question. Because if I try and put this together. I guess I can take the tape off of my engines. Did my glue job work? Yep. Yep, glued down. Good. Okay. So, you just have to point down, and that gets lined up like that. There's a lot of little alignment tabs and everything like that. This thing, I'm not really feeling like it's down all the way. Maybe it is. Now you see, if I had glued that, there'd be no way I could do that. I always hate that. F-15, I hate these 2 points. I hate that point right there. That's always a pain in the neck to get those to line up and look proper. You can kind of use these as artificial hands. There we go. It's lined up. See, that's got a big gap there. That I don't like. That's a huge gap right there. It's perfect here. That's really great. This is all lining up right great. But then you got this. What the heck is that? I don't have that on this side, but I have it on this side. And that sucks. So I'll be filling in that gap with some putty. Well, maybe I won't. Maybe there's a piece that goes. Yeah, there's a gun piece that goes here that mimics this, but has the cutout for the gun. So, I'm getting paranoid for nothing. Anyway, I wanted to see if I can put the gun in after this is together. So I'd like to just leave these for a few more minutes to dry. If I can put this barrel in, that makes it a little more complicated. Yeah, it's a bit complicated to get that in there. So I'll wait. Just because I can do this. It's easier to feed that through because I have access to the bottom. So I'll wait. Put you back over here, out of the way. I think this might be dry. Yep. Dry enough for me to put it in there. So this little tab is going to go into that little slot, and then this is going to kind of feed inside almost. It looks like there's that hole right there. See that hole? So I stick my thing in the hole right there. This part's going to feed right in there, according to the diagram. Where it makes contact and gets glued, I'm not sure, but I definitely want to have glue on the bottom there before I put that in. Glasses off for accuracy. Now let's try and drop this in here. It's wedged in there. It's a tight fit, that's for sure. By the time I get this in there, the glue will be dried. Okay, so I can put some glue on the back there. And make that a permanent part of the plane. And now I can glue this back on. Or maybe not. Damn. To me, I made this a really tight fit. Try and wedge this thing in there. I'm going to do myself a favor and trim some of this. Give myself a little bit of wiggle room. Okay, let's try that. Not enough. Damn. Trim too much away, but it's going to be such a pain. I don't really have much choice. You know, first thought, of course, is like, oh, am I putting it together right? Am I making a mistake and doing it wrong? No, it's correct. It's just wedging it in here. It's not working for me. Once it's in, I can glue the hell out of it. That's fine. But getting it in here. tweezers are not helping. It's something you can actually grip it with. Damn it. Okay, try again. I'm going to re-glue this. Yeah, I'm not making a mistake. We want the whole thing assembled and then you put it in there. And this thing is just not fitting for me. This is the first problem I've had with a Tamiya kit like this. Am I putting it in backwards? No, that's right. This is towards the front. Got it. I got it. All right. All right, let's glue her together. If you guys are watching me on YouTube, why not head over to my Twitch channel? That would be really appreciated. Head over to my Twitch channel. I'll put a link in the little description box below there. But if you don't want to click a link and you want to type it in, it is www.twitch.tv/duplicitous_29. And yeah, you can talk to me live and you can chat, and it would come up in this little conversation box here. And yeah, you could ask me questions. You could tell me, hey, I put that together and I didn't have any problem putting that thing in there. How come you're struggling so much? I thought you were a better model builder. He said, well, I'm not that better. Anyway, who said I was better? Just because I'm on YouTube? No. Anyway, it's in there now, and it's right where it's supposed to be, and it's glued in, so it'll stay. That is the most trouble I've had with a Tamiya kit part in a long, long time. Okay, so I want to scrape off just a little bit of the paint off of this so that I make sure this is glued in. Nothing worse than getting a piece that's painted up nice And then because you've got all that paint on there, the glue doesn't stick like it's supposed to. Okay, so we fish it through down there, line it up, put it in. Now hold it for a sec. I think right there is a good thing. It doesn't matter if that's actually touching the top. Does it need to be centered in the hole? No, that's not super important. So sitting like that is good enough for me. Don't really need anything better as far as aligning that in its little spot. Now we want some screws. We've got 3 screws they want us to put in to put this thing together. One in the front here, and then 2 back here. So they want 2x6s going in the back and 3x6 in the front. So 3x6, that's a thicker one. So it's time to screw. I believe this is the 3x6, and I believe correctly. 2x6. Yep. And another 2x6. There we go. Feels like I'm talking about lumber. 2x6. I need a 2x6. Okay. So, a big moment. Get this thing together. Doesn't really matter if I do it upside down. I guess it does. It's harder to line it up. So I'll get this screwed together, and then I'm going to have a bunch of gluing to do to fix the gaps. Because a lot of this just isn't going to go with screws only. But I can get them started. And then we're going to call it a day. So, we're lined up pretty much, yeah. You guys hold it in place, please. So this should be lining up right there. Feels cool, right? Of course, if you've never put a model together with screws before, it can be a little bit daunting or maybe a little scary. See, my gun is not holding like it should. Let's try this. Actually, I'm going to give it a minute. I'm going to put my screws in at the back here. So at the back, they actually go in from the bottom. And they go here and here. Obviously going to be covered up at a later point. Screw holes for these seem to be smaller than the screw, and this actually feels like it's going in at a funny angle. As long as it lines up, I don't care. If it doesn't line up, then I'm not happy. It feels tight. Okay, how about this side? See, we got something that is not quite right here. and tight here. This side's fine. This side is not wanting to. Something's misaligned. Oh, there we go. Come on. See, that's why magnetic screwdrivers are the best. I know Tamiya has the best intentions using all these screws. It's also quite easy to strip them, and then you can't get them as tight as they're supposed to be, because now it's stripped. You put so much pressure on it, you can crack the plastic. Like, that's sticking up a little bit there, sticking up. I hope the piece that's going to be covering these has enough of a whatever in it to cover them. Okay, so now let's go back to this. My gun barrel is a little loose, so I want to put some of this on it. Just make sure these are like that. Hold it there for a second. If this is going to give me issues, yeah, it just wants to. It is going to give me issues. We're okay though. Put a little more glue in there. And I'm just going to let it sit upright like this for a minute or two. So I've got more gluing to do. Gluing and taping, because I need to make sure this goes together nice and flush. And this little piece here, and I want to make sure this gap here is all nice and taken care of and flush and smooth. So I got some work to do on that. This side looks pretty good. Looks like it's a little better, but I still have a gap here. I need to make sure that's closed. Got to put glue along here and make sure this is together. As you can see, that's quite a gap there that I need to fix. The gun barrel wants to move around as I'm moving this around. So yeah, I've got work to do on that, but I'm going to call it a day. Our next assignment is the actual exhaust. So that's going to be assembly of like 3 or 4 little pieces, and then all the little rods that go along around to create these guys. So, but that's going to be next time. And yeah, so we're going to end that here, guys. I want to thank you for watching. Thanks for coming out. Yeah, so that's going to be it for part 4. Yeah, so I'm going to say again, thanks for watching. Head on over to my Twitch. Follow me on Twitch. You'll get notified when I'm live. You can ask me questions. You can talk to me. I know, oh yeah, I just remembered. I noticed this morning I'm up to 250 followers on YouTube. Like, boom, 250. Thanks, guys. You really made my day. That's so awesome. 250. Wow. Like, wow. Like, seriously, you guys are freaking awesome. And the comments you guys leave me, so positive and just reassuring. Thank you so much. That's more than I can ask for. But yeah, I'm still going to ask you to head on over to my Twitch channel and follow me there, and go to my Instagram and check out my still pictures that I take of my builds, and all that stuff. And I'm going to ask that like every time. And if you like this, hit the like button down there and follow me. You can even hit the little bell there and you'll get notified when I put up a new video. But as you guys can tell, I do this maybe about once a week. I try to do maybe twice, Saturdays and Sundays, sometimes even Fridays. If I have a day off during the week, I like to at least spend an hour with you guys and do that. So yeah, so there's the engine. I guess I didn't really show you guys. Now the engine, it's the gun. The gun is in there now. And yeah, so I'm going to leave it at that, guys. I'm going to call it a day. I'm just going to prop this up down here by my feet so it stays upright for another, I don't know, 10 minutes, 20 minutes or so that the gun glues and stays where it's supposed to be. And we're going to end it there. We're going to end it there. So thanks again, guys, for watching. Thanks for coming out. And yeah, we'll see you all in the next one.